Looking back, 1854, a peek into the past. America in 1854. Immigrants used baskets and blankets to carry their belongings. When Kirsten's family came to America, they fit all their belongings into two big trunks. If your family decided to move to another country, could you do that? How would you know what to bring with you? What would you leave behind? One of your relatives probably had to make decisions like these because there's a story like Kirsten's in nearly every American family. Most people who live in the United States today had relatives who were immigrants, people who left their home country and moved to America to start a new life. They may have settled here more than 100 years ago, or they may have come more recently. Immigrants still come to the United States today. Many of the early immigrants came from countries where farmland was poor. People were starving because they could not grow enough food. Like Kirsten and her family, they came to America because they wanted new land and a chance for a better life. Immigrants who had already come to America wrote letters back home to their neighbors and relatives, telling them that life in America was good. The land is rich, they wrote. The grass is so thick that in one day we can cut enough to feed a cow for a whole winter. They encouraged others to join them on the frontier in places like Minnesota, where there was plenty of good land for anyone who was willing to work hard. A Swedish family reads a letter from relatives in America. People who decide to go to America could bring only the most important things with them. They fill their big trunks with clothes, blankets, tools, and food for the trip. They also packed things that would remind them of the people they loved and the places they left behind. A woman like Mama might have made room for beautiful cloth that her mother had woven, or for a bowl that her father had carved, or for the wooden mold she always used to decorate butter or cheese. What do you think a girl like Kirsten might have squeezed in? When their trunks were finally packed, a family had to travel to a port city and wait until a ship like the Eagle was ready to sail for America. These ships were filled with cargo such as lumber and iron, so there was only a small space on them for people. Immigrants traveled in a lower part of the ship called steerage. People in steerage were cramped and uncomfortable. The ceiling was so low that a man couldn't stand up straight. There were no windows for light or fresh air. There were no bathrooms, and it was hard to get clean water for drinking or washing. Families slept on narrow wooden bunks that were covered with straw. Often 2 or more people shared a bunk that was smaller than your bed is. Usually, even in rough weather, passengers spent their time on deck where the air was fresh. Usually, a mother cooked her family's meal on the ship's deck. At the beginning of the voyage, a family's food was fresh, but there were no refrigerators in 1854, so the food soon spoiled. But when the passengers reached land, even their salted meat was rotten. And their bread was moldy. Still, they ate this food because it was all they had. When Kirsten came to America, a very fast ship could sail across the ocean in 6 weeks. If the wind was bad, the trip would take much longer. Sometimes immigrants died in storms and shipwrecks on the way to America. And even with good weather, many passengers got seasick. Some of them got terrible diseases, such as cholera. How immigrants came from Sweden. Once an immigrant family arrived safely in America, the dangers of the trip were not over. Most immigrants could not speak English, and they did not have anyone to help them buy fresh food or train tickets for their trip to the frontier. Sometimes thieves robbed or cheated the immigrants. Immigrants arriving in America. Immigrating to America in 1854 was certainly dangerous, but it was exciting too. If Kirsten's family had stayed in Sweden, she would probably never have seen the ocean or even a town more than 20 miles from the place she was born. Because they became immigrants, she traveled halfway around the world. She saw machines she had never dreamed of, like trains and paddle wheel boats. She saw busy cities like New York and Chicago. She saw long stretches of open prairie and miles of rich farmland. And at the end of her journey, she had a new home in a new land with a life full of opportunity ahead of her. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.